In 1788, during a war between the Austrian Empire and the Ottoman Empire, something extraordinary happened. It was supposed to be just another battle in a long conflict between two great powers of the time, but instead, the Austrian army managed to inflict a crushing defeat on itself. This strange and tragic event became known as the Battle of Karansebes, and it remains one of the most absurd moments in military history. The Austrian army at the time was a massive force, numbering more than 100,000 soldiers. But unlike a unified, disciplined army, it was a patchwork of nationalities and languages. There were Austrians, Hungarians, Italians, Serbs, Croats, and many others, all under the same banner. Communication was already a challenge, since orders often had to be shouted across groups that did not share the same language. Misunderstandings were almost inevitable. In September 1788, the Austrian army was camped near the town of Karansebes, in present-day Romania. They expected an Ottoman attack at any time, so they were tense and restless. One evening, a group of Austrian cavalrymen was sent out on patrol. Instead of encountering the enemy, they stumbled across some gypsy traders who were selling barrels of schnapps, a strong alcoholic drink. The soldiers were exhausted, stressed, and thirsty. So, naturally, they bought the alcohol and began drinking heavily. Soon, groups of infantry soldiers noticed the cavalrymen celebrating and demanded a share of the schnapps. The cavalry refused, wanting to keep the drink for themselves. An argument broke out. Tempers flared, and as more soldiers gathered, the shouting escalated into a physical fight. Someone fired a shot. Nobody knew exactly who, but that single gunshot was enough to create panic. In the confusion, someone shouted that the Ottomans were attacking, but because of the mix of languages in the Austrian army, the warning spread in a garbled, chaotic way. To many soldiers, it sounded real. The enemy had arrived. Panic spread like wildfire through the camp. Soldiers who were drunk stumbled around firing their weapons into the darkness. Others, sober but terrified, assumed the shots came from Ottoman troops and fired back. Cavalry charged through the camp, knocking over tents and running down fellow soldiers. Infantry returned fire at anything that moved. Cannons were even fired against their own men, adding to the destruction. The chaos lasted through the night, with Austrians killing Austrians in a battle against an enemy who wasn't even there. When morning came, the truth was revealed. There had been no Ottoman attack. What the Austrian soldiers had fought was nothing but shadows, confusion, and each other. By the time order was restored, thousands of Austrian troops were dead or wounded. Entire units were scattered. The once powerful army was left broken and demoralized, all without the Ottomans firing a single shot. And then came the final, almost comedic twist of fate. Only days later, the real Ottoman army arrived. They found the Austrians in complete disarray, their camp destroyed, their forces weakened. Unsurprisingly, the Ottomans quickly took advantage of the situation and won a major victory. The Battle of Karansebes is remembered today as one of the most absurd disasters in military history. It was not caused by strategy, tactics, or overwhelming enemy power. It was caused by drunkenness, miscommunication, and fear. An army of more than 100,000 soldiers defeated itself because it could not handle its own chaos. While tragic, the story also serves as a darkly humorous reminder of how human mistakes can spiral out of control. It shows how fragile even the strongest armies can be when discipline breaks down and panic takes over. And it reminds us that sometimes, the most dangerous enemy is not outside the camp, but inside it. More than 2 centuries later, historians still marvel at the bizarre events of Karansebes. It stands as proof that history is not always about glory and triumph. Sometimes, it is about absurd failure, drunken confusion, and the costly price of chaos.